While leaders in artificial intelligence gathered in Pittsburgh's East End last week, global experts in energy security were making their way to Titusville, about 100 miles to the north. If the name sounds familiar, it may well be because of the Drake Well, recognized as the world's first commercial oil well, drilled way back in 1859. Last week, the historic site hosted the third annual Drake Energy and Climate Security Forum, which drew attendees from as far away as Cotter. Oil City native Andrew Tabler is president and co-founder of the forum.
It's third annual, and we bring energy and climate experts up here to northwestern Pennsylvania to talk out the big issues and the nexus between energy security and climate security, which is a hot issue, not just in Washington where I live, but up here in Pennsylvania and pertains to the upcoming election.
Okay, this is a conversation you could be and are having in Washington, D.C. Why is it important to bring them up here?
I think there's two reasons. First of all, people need to get outside of the echo chambers and outside the Beltway in Washington, D.C. and get in touch with what's going on in the rest of the country. And the revitalization of the center of the country and the sort of deindustrialization, as some people describe it, and sort of lack of economic growth out here are important factors. We need to have people out here understand what's going on with policymakers and what policymakers need to understand what's going on out here. So therefore, we bring them together, and there's no better place also for many people in energy in particular. But not only, coming to Drake Well Museum and Park is on their bucket list. And so it's a big draw.
It's clear you want this to be more than a global conversation about energy policy. This is also about revitalizing Oil City.
Absolutely. So in particular, Oil City, where I was born, I was really worried a few years ago that the town I was born into and lived in for so many years before I went to college and then off to the Middle East, I was worried that it was going to disappear. They were knocking down buildings left and right. They still are knocking down buildings, but there's a real effort to save those buildings, and the most historical ones, which are the confluence of Oil Creek and the Allegheny River, the world's first oil port, and where the price of oil was set in the early oil industry for 40 years. So I think that was a major, major driver. But there were also other drivers as well. I really felt that this area has something to offer the rest of the world. And so the energy industry that this area gave birth to, it spread all over the world, and now people from all over the world are coming here to talk about these issues with us.
During their stay in Titusville and nearby Oil City, summit goers got a taste of Western Pennsylvania history with a private performance of Melba, the Toast of Pithole, by Oil City's Community Playhouse. And yes, there really was a boomtown called Pithole in the 1860s in Venango County. They also got a taste of Pennsylvania politics as the Commonwealth Foundation released its latest polling of attitudes about energy. Almost 8 in 10 Pennsylvania voters say they worry about the future availability of affordable energy, with a similar share, 3 out of 4, supporting building more natural gas infrastructure. We caught up with the conservative-leaning foundation's Eric Telford after his presentation.
It shows that voters here have become keenly aware of how important Pennsylvania's energy sector is to the economy, for the state, for the nation, for global energy security, but also how closely tied it is to their pocketbook concerns around inflation and the cost of living crisis.
If I could leave you with one thing.
To Titusville native Stephen Burns, the keynote speaker Monday morning, the birthplace of the global energy industry is the perfect place to talk about its future. He's the director for energy security for the National Security Council. What is it about this place that makes it a great place to have this conversation?
Well, there's a lot of history, first off, okay? It's the first commercial oil well. On top of that, the first civilian nuclear plant, okay? So this region has seen energy transitions, right, from its very beginning, and maybe not as recognized outside of the region, but it's actually a very academic region as well, right? And so, even from earliest growing up, right, there was always an ability to explore new ideas, have dialogue, right? So it's, again, great to come back, see the museum, right, and see that, some of that intellectual curiosity still remains.
Andrew Tabler is hoping this is all just the beginning of an ongoing global conversation about energy that can help to revitalize his hometown. So where do you think you can go with this? Where can it go from here?
I want it to expand and be an annual event here. I want to have lecture series that take place in Washington and here throughout the year. That's my goal. I think it's a great dialogue retreat space. This part of Pennsylvania, particularly as it pertains to energy and climate, the history of the energy industry and the beautiful environment around us are big draws for this debate. It's one of the biggest issues or battles, really, before us as a country and as a world. And I would really like to invigorate this area and re-energize it through this conference in that small way.
You can find out more about the challenges in security, energy, and climate at drakeenergysecurity.org. Next up, Pittsburgh Tomorrow, a new initiative to tackle our region's population and demographic challenges. Please stay with us.